Macau has casinos that make Las Vegas look like a children's playground. But what almost nobody shows you is how the ultra-wealthy actually eat here. Surrounded by the crystal waters of the Pearl River Delta, Macau is an urban masterpiece where centuries-old temples coexist with futuristic skyscrapers and where cobblestone streets of the UNESCO Historic Center lead directly to the world's most luxurious casinos. But beneath this unique beauty, where East and West meet in perfect harmony, lies an even more exclusive gastronomic reality. Here, Hong Kong real estate magnates compete for reservations with Singaporean conglomerate heirs, while Chinese tech entrepreneurs discover that their billion-dollar fortunes still don't guarantee immediate access to the most coveted establishments. In this peninsula of just 12 square miles, true status isn't measured by yachts or private jets, but by the ability to secure a table at the right restaurant on the right night with the right people. At the peak of this gastronomic hierarchy, literally suspended in the clouds, we find where billionaires define what it means to eat well. Robuchon aux Dames occupies the 43rd floor of the Grand Lisboa Hotel, 780 feet above sea level, serving dishes that cost more per portion than entire monthly salaries. Here, Brittany lobster is cooked in crab broth fermented for 6 months, while a simple chocolate soufflé requires 15 minutes of choreographed preparation by 3 chefs simultaneously. Black Perigord truffles arrive daily, excavated by dogs trained for generations, served over risottos made with carnaroli rice aged for 2 years. The Osetra caviar comes from sturgeon raised for over 20 years in specific Caspian Sea farms, served on mother-of-pearl spoons with blinis prepared, using flour ground just hours before. For $1,500 per person, billionaires access ingredients impossible to purchase. Foie gras from geese fed exclusively on organic figs, balsamic vinegar aged 25 years in century-old barrels, and butter from a single Norman farm, where cows graze exclusively on organic fields. But while billionaires experience French perfection at Robuchon, it's by descending to street level that we discover where Asian magnates redefine their own traditions. At City of Dreams, Jade Dragon has become the sanctuary where entrepreneurs who built Asia's economic miracle pay $1,200 to rediscover their culinary roots. Chef Kelvin Ao-Yung specializes in the impossible, elevating dishes their grandmothers prepared to unimaginable levels of sophistication. The famous Iberico pork is marinated for 48 hours in 30-year-old Shaoxing wine, combined with Tibetan spices harvested just 2 weeks per year at altitudes exceeding 13,000 feet, then roasted in lychee wood ovens that impart unique flavors. The Australian abalone represents specimens that grew for decades in pristine waters, prepared through slow cooking for 8 hours in broths made from bones fermented for weeks. The bird's nest soup uses nests manually collected from specific Malaysian caves, where each structure was formed by swallows fed exclusively on insects from uncontaminated regions. The crystal shrimp dumplings feature crustaceans individually peeled, seasoned with oil extracted from crabs that inhabit only specific waters of the South China Sea. While Asians rediscover their traditions and billionaires savor French perfection, there exists a third gastronomic territory where cultures uniquely converge. Alain Ducasse at Morpheus specifically attracts the elite who operate between continents. American executives overseeing Asian operations. European entrepreneurs established. In Hong Kong, Asian magnates who divide time between cultures. For $900 per person, they discover creations like Mediterranean prawns with delicate gelée and golden caviar. where prawns arrive daily from specific Mediterranean waters. Chef Pierre Marty uses French white asparagus cultivated, completely without sunlight, creating delicacy impossible to replicate, served with hollandaise sauce made from eggs of chickens raised in complete freedom. Morel mushrooms arrive from specific French forests, harvested by specialists who identify perfect ripeness through aroma, prepared in risottos with 36-month aged Parmigiano Reggiano. The beef comes from farms where animals are fed diets including truffles and aromatic herbs, creating marbling impossible in commercial livestock. But to truly understand how wealth manifests through food in Macau, we need to understand those who never abandon their roots. The 8. In the same Grand Lisboa that houses Robuchon, a geographic irony not lost on diners, serves Chinese entrepreneurs who built fortunes while preserving ancestral traditions. For $800, they access idealized versions of dishes their families prepared, but with quality never before imagined. The Peking duck uses specimens created specifically for this restaurant, fed selected organic grains, and raised where each animal receives individual care impossible commercially. The abalone represents the pinnacle of this Chinese delicacy. Specimens that grew for decades in pristine waters, prepared in broths fermented for weeks using specific bones. The bird's nest soup employs nests collected from Malaysian caves, where each structure was formed over months by swallows fed in completely pure environments. Each ingredient connects directly with ancestral taste memories, but prepared with purity that has disappeared from modern agriculture. Completing this gastronomic universe, we discover the most intimate territory, where the established elite celebrates continuity. Winglei functions as a private club for Hong Kong's sophisticated elite who regularly cross to Macau. For $700 per person, they experience Cantonese cuisine prepared with ingredients and techniques disappearing even in Hong Kong. The lacquered duck uses a specific lineage raised by one family for 5 generations, marinated with ingredients fermented for years in ancestral ceramic jars. The dim sum represents vanishing craftsmanship, each dumpling hand-molded by masters who developed tactile sensitivity, capable of identifying perfect textures through touch, using flour ground just hours before. Shrimp come from specific pearl, river delta waters, where natural salinity creates unique flavors impossible to replicate artificially. Chassitake mushrooms grow on family farms using specific logs, producing density and umami vanished from industrial cultivation. The truth about how the ultra-rich really eat, while you consider whether it's worth paying $80 for a special dinner. There exists an elite that spends $1,500 on a single meal without even checking the price. The difference isn't just in the money, it's in access to a gastronomic world completely parallel to ours. They don't need to make reservations months in advance because they've cultivated relationships over decades. They don't need to choose from menu options because chefs create dishes specifically for their palates. They don't worry about prices because the real value lies in ingredient rarity and experience exclusivity. Think about it. While we buy our ingredients at the supermarket, they access producers who supply only half a dozen restaurants worldwide. While we wait 20 minutes for a table, they dine in private rooms where million-dollar deals happen between the main course and dessert. While we photograph our food, they savor dishes that will never appear on social media because discretion is part of the experience. This is reality. There exists a level of gastronomic living where your rules simply don't apply, where expensive isn't a concern, but impossible to get is the true luxury, where power isn't measured by what you can pay, but by what you can access. And perhaps the most interesting lesson is this: they don't eat this way to impress anyone. They eat this way because they can, because they've built a level of success where this is simply their reality. It's a fascinating perspective on how money really works when you have enough to never need to think about it.